on the same note of talking about legends, we've been talking about this man forever. I feel like he should just become a part of our show.
Who? 50?
Let's talk about 50.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about 50.
Recently,
go ahead.
We had a discussion about what we think 50 should do since his departure with Stars.
Yes, sir.
I think we are responsible.
Yes. For some of what happened.
We are responsible for some of this.
I will take the credit for that.
I will take the credit for this. Coming from Revolt.tv.
Yes.
Let's talk about 50 Cent purchases 985,000 square foot studio space for G-Unit Film and Television.
Yes, sir.
Go on and read that.
Okay, now, of course, this is from Revolt TV. It says 50 Cent is taking his power to new heights by acquiring a 985,000 square foot facility that will be transformed into G-Unit Studios. Now, the savvy businessman shared a glimpse of the gutted building in an Instagram post this past weekend. He said, well, would you look at here? As he panned the camera across the space, showing, of course, the studios. He continued to say 985,000 square foot. Can you say G-Unit Studios? In an April 29th post and caption, GLG Greenlight Gang, G-Unit Film and Studios. Boom. I need room to work. I don't miss. TV will never be the same. Now, don't this sound like the regular cocky 50 that we used to hear from?
Very
right
cocky.
Here. But I think he got the right to be that.
Yes, I think somebody told him that we told him they're going to make this investment.
And that's completely fine. 50, get with us. Get with us here at the Intro Podcast.
God dog it.
Let us know your thoughts on this. Now, of course, like you said, TV will never be the same. Now, we still don't know, and we were talking about this earlier, it's unclear if the future studio is actually going to be headquartered here in Texas, where he recently purchased property in 2021 and became a resident. He also decided to donate $500,000 to Houston Public Schools. But if I know correctly, and quote me if I'm wrong, but I believe he actually owns property in Georgia also, which will make more sense. Not more sense, but it will make sense also that him and Tyler Perry would kind of be in cahoots in this whole studio thing. But that's just my own thoughts. Now, of course, several of his peers congratulated him on the feat, including power actress Lala Anthony, E40, and his longtime friend Tony Yayo. Even the baby gave his mentor props with a series of emojis under the comments. In a follow-up comment, he did write, "Still studying. 2 years ago, the Massacre artist took to rising talent under his wing." Talking about the baby, 50 Cent took the baby under his wing a few years ago. Kind of been teaching him the game. He said, "I'm gonna teach him all the mistakes I made, so he can be better than me." This is hip hop. 50 wrote in the comments of a past Instagram post shared on the baby's page. Now, with the studio up and running, it seems like BMF executive producer may have more control over his future and film projects. The mogul has already proven that he does not miss with his roster of successful TV shows. Now, let's talk about this.
I think, personally, this is probably, if you think back to one of our previous shows, we were talking about what happens whenever we recognize our own, no pun intended, power, or things that we have learned throughout the stages of what we've done and how we can apply them to our lives now. I think that 50 is at a point in his life now to where the person who don't know their ability would have folded.
Yeah.
And would have told Stars, whatever you provide for me, I'll take it. But 50 is at a point now to where he understands his star power. Not only the star power, but he has learned so much.
Exactly.
That I don't have to dumb down to become or take what you offer me, because what you're offering me is not my worth.
Right.
But what I can do is develop something, and now I'm in competition with y'all now.
Exactly. And that's where I feel like 50 now has probably been hanging out with Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
Because that's that's his claim to fame right there. He said, you don't get a job for the money. You get a job to learn that skill. Once you perfect that skill, you can go ahead and start a business with it, go to school for it, or whatever the case. But capitalize on what you learned in that period. And that's what I feel like 50 did with this venture with Stars. He capitalized on what he learned. And now he's like, well, if I got my own studios, I don't have to pay somebody else for their studios. I can create all the content I want in my studio. And I honestly, this is a big one. I'm about to say, I think what's next in it for 50 is similar to what Tyler Perry
definitely
is trying to do.
Definitely.
Tyler Perry is trying to create his own network. And I believe that 50 is not far behind Tyler Perry in that sense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the two of them somehow linked up.
It would be dope.
And created a network together.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you think about it. Like you said, 50 don't miss.
Yeah.
He already got shows in line. He link up with Tyler Perry and create that network.
Yeah.
It's a game changer for them.
Yeah, because I mean, like we said primarily on another show. People like Stars or these other conglomerate TV networks hate whenever we learn. Because whenever we learn what to do, we take away their power from them telling us what we're worth or what they're able to give us.
Exactly.
So 50 has become that person who has said, yes, I'm going to sit, I'm going to learn, and I'm going to develop.
Yep.
Sit, learn, and develop, which is something that a lot of us don't do. Sit, learn, and develop. We'll sit, we'll learn, but instead of developing what we learn, oftentimes we get complacent in, I'm good with just learning this, so I'm just going to jump out on my own.
Yep.
50 could have done this whenever Power first came out, because whenever the very first Power hit, like, it was a sensation to Stars, to where he basically was like, Stars is here now.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing on Stars to make me want to watch Stars before the very first Power.
Exactly. You can't think of not one thing.
I don't have one show that I was watching prior to.
Exactly.
And what Stars understood is there's nothing here. And as long as we are able to keep 50 from actually realizing what he can really be or who he can really be, we haven't. But then they lost that element whenever he just sat back and just started learning. Which is why it's important for us. I know we're supposed to be talking about the vulnerability and strength for the deep dive. We'll probably touch on that for a minute. But I think it's really important for us to be able to sit back and learn. And in that learning stage, don't just learn for the moment, but learn for the longevity, because we never know. Like, I'm pretty sure whenever 50 got into contracts with Stars, he didn't think that there would ever be a time to where he would necessarily have to step out on his own or have to step out on his own so early because of the mistreatment. So it was very smart for him at that time to say, while I'm here, not only am I going to have shows on your network, but I'm going to learn your network.
And that's the whole thing what 50 does. Like, right now, 50 got his hands in at least 3 or 4 pots that I can think of. He has his name. Of course, everybody knows, the music industry. He's in that TV and film, what he's doing with the whole Power Universe, BMF, and other shows that he's created. But then also, he has a couple different liquor brands as well.
Yeah.
So that's 3 different things that 50 got and is successful in right now that we know about. I'm pretty sure there's more that we don't know about, but the message overall is, like you said before, grow and learn.
Yeah.
Continue to grow and learn. 50 is almost 50.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you can probably say right now he's at the peak or continuing to grow at his rate right now. He's higher than he's ever been.
Yeah.
Right now. Like, he can do music if he wants to.
Yeah.
But that ain't the bulk of what his stuff is
If he
coming
don't,
from.
he don't have to.
Right.
And I think it's very important that we also learn or explain that, I don't care what one thing you're great at, you have to have a diversified portfolio.
Yep.
Because although I'm good at this one thing, I don't necessarily have to only be known by this one thing that everyone knows that I'm good at. Yeah, 50 could have stayed in the music industry.
Yeah.
And probably could have really done a hella good job. But in order to have several streams of income,
There you go.
you have to have several things that you're good at.
Yeah.
And he didn't just jump out on all of those things at one time and say, this is who I am and this is what I do. He had to learn some things. And I think that we don't take out the time to learn because we get so comfortable in people just telling us, oh, this is what you're good at. You don't need to learn nothing else. You good right here.
Right. Or people just get used to seeing us do certain things, so that's kind of where we get complacent.
Yeah.
With. But I mean, they say the average millionaire has 7 or more streams of income.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what 50 is doing right now. He's trying to solidify things for his future. That ain't me.
Ain't me. That's the devil. He made me do it. So as a part of, the whole learning process, I think that although it's good to have people in our corner to say, but not even only having those people in our corner, we have to be willing to listen to those people who tell us that although we are good at this point, there's still a certain level where we have to learn. Like the one thing that I remember between me and you more recently, we were talking about how we were going to be splitting the show up into the topics and the discussion.
Right.
And I had a name or whatever. You was like, no, how about we name it this? And whenever I thought about it, I was like, yeah, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
We have to be open to other people having more knowledge, or not even having more knowledge or whatever, but just being able to see past where we see. Because if we are the smartest person in our group is like hella small.
Yeah. And that's honestly what a good mentor told me. He said, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. If anything, you want somebody smarter than you working for you. Mm-hmm. So that's the terms that I think of. I think about things like that. Like, who can help me get to that next step or that next level to where I want to get to? And then I want to hire that person. Yeah. Because clearly they can get there and they can get me there before I can get myself there. So have them work with me, give them a nice little salary. Yeah. Because that's what's going to catapult my business to the next level. Mm-hmm. So that's my goal going forward.
It's funny that you should mention that. I learned an interview that Steve Harvey done recently with Earn Your Leisure along the same lines. Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, no college degree, but they have all these college degrees working for them.
Exactly.
And whenever he said that, I was like, that is the most smartest thing I had heard in a long time. It's like sometimes God will give us a vision to push us to our next. And it's not that we have to come prepared for everything, but there are certain people who already have the knowledge to take us further than what we can take ourselves, to where we have to trust that they can do that or be that for us. But a lot of times people don't want to take that because it's like, if I allow somebody in my life or somebody in my business, I'm afraid that they're going to want to take over, or they'll get too far and they'll leave me type situation. But you have to be willing to risk that this person may really just have my best interest at heart.
Well, A lot of it is that, and of course it's real bad with our culture and the black culture, that we feel like if we let somebody in, they're gonna try to take over.
Yeah.
That's just one of the things, especially if they smarter than us. But what we don't realize is that some people really just want to do what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They might not know what we know about business, and we know that about business because we did trial and error.
Yeah.
We were actually out there learning in the trenches. Granted, they might have done something in business management or whatever the case, but there's things that you have. There's things that once you start a business, there's things you can't learn from a classroom.
Facts.
There's things that you have to learn from getting out there, out there on the grind. And of course, me and you know that.
Yeah.
Well, most people they take a business management class, and when they graduate, they're like, "Well, I can manage this business." But that's exactly what a business management class is. It's to manage a business. It's not to start a business.
Yeah.
It's not to get that business to the next level. It's to manage that business, and not taking the credit away from anybody who went to school for that 4 years, got a degree in it, but they just don't know what the entrepreneur knows.
Facts.
They don't have that same vision that
Facts.
the entrepreneur has. So what you do is you, like either one of us, for example, I don't have a college degree, at least not in business. I would find somebody who does have that.
Yeah.
And I will make them the manager of my business, because now I know that they know how to manage the business. They're going to manage the numbers and everything else, while I'm the visionary. I can focus on being the visionary. What's next for the company?
Yeah.
What do we want to bring out? How do we want our brand to look going forward?
Yeah, because some people are not. I believe, and if I'm wrong, I can be wrong and be perfectly cool with it. There are some people who are ordained to get a degree to work for somebody.
Yeah.
Everyone's not going to be an entrepreneur and step out and start their own thing.
Not at all.
But there are some people who may go to college all of these years and get the PhD, get the master's, the bachelor's, or whatever that degree is, to find somebody like me or find somebody like you and work for us to push us into a bigger part of business that we couldn't make it in had we not had them in our lives.
Exactly.
Like for me, y'all know JR can do this shirt blindfolded with one hand tied behind his back with some shades on at the same time. But it was important for me to get around somebody like him who was doing something even outside this, or even with just what he have on with his shirt. Let y'all see that that it takes a certain level of know-it-all in order to be able to do stuff like that. And had I been the closed-off person or the person that says, I'm not going to allow you in my life or allow what you do in my life because of what it may happen to my brand, because some people will allow you in their life, but not who you are and what you do.
Thanks.
Like, I will allow you in my life because you're cool, you're a friend or whatever, but whenever it comes down to what you do and what I do, that's where I draw the line.
Right, because people feel like that's competition.
But whenever you draw that line, you might as well be telling me I don't want you, period. Because I don't come with just the bare minimum. I tell people, whenever you invite me somewhere, you're inviting all of me.
Yeah.
You gonna get the business me. You gonna get the masculine me.
Yep.
You gonna get the gay me. You gonna get the fun me. You gonna get the church me. You are inviting me. You are inviting Troilus Trevane Gilmore to your event. So don't expect me to come to your event or come to whatever it is you're inviting me to and dumb down, because it's never gonna happen. But some people are more comfortable in saying, just bring JR. Don't bring custom.
Right.
Don't bring Lionheart.
Right.
Don't bring podcast. Just bring you. That's all we want. We don't want nothing else, because you are a threat to the success of what they want to do.
Exactly.
And whenever it gets to that point, that lets you know who's really on your side, who really has your best interest at heart, and those who just really want you to be there to assist them in the get over. Because behind closed doors, all I'm going to talk to you about is who you are and what you do. Because I want to get that from you, but whenever it comes down to us being in the public eye, we're just going to talk about JR.
Yeah.
I don't care about the public knowing about nothing about who you are, what you do, or where you do it, or why you do it.
Yep.
So it's all about being open enough to allow, like we said before, allow growth.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't have that space to do that because they're more concerned about, if I do it, what am I going to lose?
And that's a big problem for business, because when you start focusing on that's actually when I feel like business start to snowball.
Yeah.
They start to go downhill. Like for instance, you brought up about how I do shirts a certain way. I'm just trying to learn and grow. Mm-hmm. And if I can help you learn and grow, I'm gonna do that. That's just what that is. But some people won't allow an outside person to come in and let them or show them how to learn and grow, because they're comfortable here.
Yeah.
And if you come in showing them better ways, now they got to grow.
Yeah.
And that growth is scary for some people.
Yeah, because some people don't even care to grow.
And because they don't know what it looks like. They think that, if I grow and I start buying more equipment, then, this might happen. Mm-hmm. But then instead of you dropping down, what if it goes up? Yeah. You never know until you actually go out there and try. There's somebody here literally doing it. Learn from that person if you can. Don't sit in here and try to, hold that person to a certain standard or hold that person back because, what they're doing might affect my business. Now, what they're doing is their business.
Yeah.
If you hold that person from sharing that knowledge with you, you're only holding your own business back.
Yeah.
Not only that, you can take the information of what, you can take the information that you get from them, from what you're doing, what they're doing, and you can apply what you want. That's still some type of growth. You might not agree with how they're doing business over here, but the method that they're creating, for example, they're doing their shirts, the method they're doing that at, I want to know more about that.
Yeah.
You have this person that's willing to show you, willing to teach you. But if you think that, they're going to come in and take my business away, that's not what they're there for. Yeah. Honestly, I've been in a room with millionaires before. Okay, and what I realized is that...
Call them on the phone, please.
One thing I realized that is the most successful people that I've ever met, they want to show you how they got there. Yes. They don't want to keep that to themselves. Especially if they don't look at you as a threat. No, because they understand that my business is my business and your business is your business. It doesn't matter if we're doing the same thing. You have a whole nother customer base that I don't have.
Facts.
And so if I can help you get to the next level, I'm going to help you get to that next level. Versus you, and I feel like that's where greed comes in, because that's where people are like, if I help this person, they're going to take my business. Yeah. People don't really buy your business. People buy you. People buy you and what you stand for. Definitely. And if you don't stand for shit, then that's when somebody else is going to go somewhere else. But 9 times out of 10, the people don't buy your business. They buy you. And if they believe in you and they believe in your dream, that they're going to continue to shop with you.
They're going to buy into it, yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah. But I guess it comes with the confidence in knowing that you are enough.
That's something that's a personal thing.
What you know is enough. What you do is enough. Where you are in life is enough. I think that a lot of times people become insecure on having somebody come to them or being the person to go to somebody to pour into them, because they're threatened that, like what we said before, the person that we're talking to may rise above us. So because I don't feel like I'm where I should be, why do I want to invest in somebody who can 9 out of 10 surpass me in no time?
Well, maybe that's just not where you're supposed to be in life. Maybe your job, maybe your calling is to help this person so they can get to that point, because it's probably not your journey to get that point. That's probably not in God's plan for you to get to that point.
God's plan. I like that song, by the way.
But I'm not going to stop nobody else's progress by telling them I'm not going to teach you this, that, and the other. Like, for instance, I mean, if there's anything that you ask me about any of this stuff, I just tell you.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. Because you're not a threat to my business. You can't take away what I know.
Facts.
And if anything, I want you to know what I know.
Facts.
Because let's say something happens. I mean, God forbid, my equipment goes down. I can call you up and be like, hey, can you make XYZ for you? I'll send you the format.
My only thing with that is I don't have the $10 million printers and stuff that you have. Like, you want something from me, you getting vinyl and nothing else. JR got 8,000 printers and all this other stuff at the crib. I walk in, I be like, oh, he's so rich.
But see, if it's one thing though that I learned, there's always more than one way to do something.
Facts.
Always. So let's just say one of my printers, for that instance, let's say one of my printers goes down. Well, I'll call you, Taz. I need to do this with XYZ, and I know that you're capable of doing this. So can you help me do this until I get this printer back up? I can either, share some of the profit with you, or I can give you something else, in the future in return. It's like some type of form of barter. I'm willing to do that from a company standpoint, because it's not going to make me miss no money. If you're still getting that order, I still have that customer locked in. It's when you can't fulfill somebody's order that they're like, well, now I got to go find somebody else. I'm going to still get this order done, even if I don't make nothing from it. And if anything, I taught you something.
But that's just the big thing is everybody don't look at the big picture. They can only see, if I turn this order over to JR and it's a $200 order that I'm gonna make, not with the whole talk, but after I done bought whatever, that's $200 I can have in my pocket. So instead of me turning it over, knowing I can't fulfill it, but I'm not gonna give it to you. So I'll put myself through all kind of hell and stress to try to fulfill something that I know I can't handle, rather than turn it over to somebody that I know who can.
And to me, that's crazy, because I look at all of those things as investments. So, for instance, if there's something that I can't do, God forbid, I'm going to outsource it. I'm going to figure out who can do this, who can do this for the cheapest price. Now, also, while I'm figuring out who can do this and while they're doing it, I'm going to figure out how I can get to that space. How can I get to the space to where I can do this? Or if I need to use them in the future, I know that they're good at what they're doing. So personally, I don't believe there's ever any losses. I believe it's only lessons. You can either learn or you can lose. But like I said, there's really no losses, because you're always going to learn something behind it. You either going to learn that, you paid the money, and this is not a good person to go to outsource going forward, but there's somebody out there that can do it. There's too many resources to get what we want done in this country.
Facts.
Even overseas. So either I'm going to learn that this wasn't the best route for me, or if I need to, this is a good avenue for me to use to outsource for something that I can't do. In the meantime, if I'm going to try to learn it and I have an interest in it, I'm going to try to learn it. But if it's something that requires something else, I know going forward, like, this is the company I want to call. They can do X, Y, Z. I learned that. Sir. So that $200 profit is not much for me, because now, since I know what that company is going to charge me for this, I know how to build that customer accordingly based on what it is they want that I can't do. So they're going to get it all through me, but I'm going to outsource part of it from them, and then I'm going to do another part of it over here. And so I'm still, at the end of the day, I'm still in business. I'm still making profit from that customer. And the other company is making profit from me. It's a win-win for everybody. So I don't see how people are like, well, that's going to take away my business. What's taking away from your business is the fact that you're not open to learning anything.
One thing that you said before we close the show, again, I was listening to Steve Harvey talking on Earn Your Leisure. I would ask that you guys, whatever podcast, whatever platform you get to get your podcast, check out the Earn Your Leisure podcast. the difference between lessons. I can't think of the other word you said. Lessons and
Losses.
Mm-hmm. Steve Harvey was talking about, a couple of years ago, whenever he was the judge for the Miss America, and he had that whole debacle where he said the wrong name or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, he learned. Well, all right. So the situation went down according to how he explained, to where there were things that was done at that moment that had never been done before, that were never supposed to be done. There were 3 names on the card. There's usually never 3 names on the card. They told him to read the name that was on the card. So he reads the name that's on the card, but the name that's on the card that he reads is not the winner. We know all of that. But what ended up happening was, after that, Steve said, primarily before this show, I had been praying for God to make me more famous, make my brand name more famous internationally. Mm-hmm. Steve Harvey said after that particular situation with Miss America, that night alone, he had became a global Googled person, because his name was, I want to say, Googled over 1 billion times for people who had never even heard of him before.
Right.
So not only did he went through that, and the lesson or the value at the end of that was, you prayed that God would make you famous. You got famous.
Yeah.
It's not for what you wanted it to be.
Right.
But you got famous.
Right.
So not only that, but he was also saying the people who are primarily over Miss America approached him, and let's talk about T-Mobile approaches him after the Miss America, and was like, we are amazed at how you handled the situation, blase, blase, blase. We want to turn your loss into one of the biggest wins that you've ever had in your life. So let's create a commercial. Steve Harvey said, because of the money that they presented him in his own comedic way, he was like, you can recreate the whole Miss America pageant in itself. I don't care, because y'all paying me.
Yeah.
So then Miss America comes back, and they approaches him, and they're like, we want you to come back. We'll pay you 2 times what we were paying you before. Steve Harvey said, I don't want it. They said, Mr. Harvey, we'll pay you 3 times what we were paying you before. Steve Harvey said, I don't want it. Mr. Harvey, we will pay you millions to come back to host the Miss America pageant. Steve Harvey said, I don't want it. They said, Mr. Harvey, what do you want? I want ownership. I don't want to work. I want ownership.
Yep. Best thing you can do.
Steve Harvey got ownership of the Miss America pageant. He literally owns this now.
There you go.
So out of the loss, or what was supposed to be a loss, or what was supposed to make him want to give up, he came out not on top. He came out in the heavens.
Right. He
came out from just being a host of something to saying, now you belong to me.
That's it.
I'm going to make you my being.
Another story that's similar to that was, of course, 80s, 90s, the 2 men that kind of dominated the shoe game were
Taz and JR. Yeah, they did great.
Michael Jordan,
yeah,
and Charles Barkley.
Yeah, I'm actually ready for that Michael Jordan movie to come out. By the way,
it's out.
I need to see that.
That's out. Yeah, we gotta go see that. But 2 people who had the biggest contracts with Nike were Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley at that time. Now, Michael Jordan actually came to Charles Barkley and was like, just out of curiosity, he's like, I was reading over your contract. He's like, why do you need that much money? He's like, what do you mean? And I guess Barkley was offered like $3 million or $5 million for his sneaker line or whatever. And Jordan told him, was like, you don't need all that money up front. He said, what you do is you ask for this amount, which is a lesser amount, and then ask for stock options.
Yeah.
So you get stock in the company.
Yeah.
Which is probably the smartest move they did, because Barkley said he made well over 10 times that amount that they originally offered him in stock options alone, and still makes that money to this day because he has stock in Nike, same way Jordan does. Jordan makes over $230 million a year in Nike,
and that's
but also has his own brand.
Yeah. Magic Johnson had the same story. He just picked the opposite. Whenever they showed him a bunch of money, he took the money, but he was like, "Had I picked the other option?"
But a lot of players didn't know back then.
Had no idea.
But Jordan knew back then.
Yeah,
like pick the stock options.
Yeah.
Take the lesser amount of money, but pick stock options.
Yeah.
And to this day, those players are still getting paid.
They are
for what they did 30 years ago.
They are. And it again, it came with being able to sit down and learn.
Yep.
I'll always say, like, it's one of the hardest things for us to do today, because we want that microwave.
We want it right now.
Instead of waiting until you put it in the oven, let the meat thaw out.
Yep.
Put it in the oven and cook that thing. It's gonna take longer.
And that's the problem, is that whenever you cook anything, it takes you, let's just say you're making chicken. Just an example. You making chicken in the oven. It take about an hour to make, right?
Yeah.
How long it take you to eat it?
Yeah.
You eat that plate in 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But it took an hour to prep. So take more time on your prep work. And this goes for myself included. Take more time on your prep work so you can enjoy more later on.
Yeah.
Versus just taking, trying to cut the prep work in half. Because you cutting that prep work in half, you're going to get half the result.
Yeah.
You cook that chicken for half the time, I guarantee you're going to be on the toilet longer than you was eating that plate.
Bloody. But look, man, I totally, of course, we did cover a lot of what we said that we were going to cover. I'm proud about that. We're going to talk about vulnerability and strength next week. But just give us a peek into why you made that shirt, though.
It's a story, and I'll give this story and I'll wrap it up. This story actually comes from a woman I met about 8 years ago. And
no, it's not me, but go ahead.
This woman was actually one of the millionaires that I was talking about. And she tells her story. And she used to be married to a ex-football player, which I won't name names at the moment. But while married to this man, she went through physical abuse, verbal abuse, and even some things to where she can no longer have children. And she talks about this. And when she speaks about some of the things that she went through, she says the things so nonchalantly. She's saying this in a group of people. And I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, like, she just said like it don't even affect her. So when she was done with her speech, I had the opportunity to speak to her personally, and I asked her, I was like, why do you say these things that happen to you, so casually, like they don't bother you? And she said, because I learned over time that me being vulnerable and being open about what happens to me gives me more strength than anything. Said acceptance is the key. I've accepted what's happened to me, and I'm willing to move forward. And somebody who heard my story tonight may have needed to hear that so they can accept and move forward. And to her, that was the strongest thing she's ever done. So, and even what I'm going through personally, currently, I feel like vulnerability is probably the most sign of strength that you can show. Most people don't want to be vulnerable because they're afraid of what somebody might do with it. Vulnerability is just your own truth.
Men don't like to be vulnerable for some reason.
We don't. Because in our culture, we're used to people using vulnerability against us. And
we've been taught so much that we ain't supposed to cry, show emotion, feel defeated, walk it off.
Right. But in all reality, the more you're vulnerable, the less ammo you give against somebody, especially your opponent.
Yeah.
Because you've already called it out. Like, think about, for instance, Eminem in 8 Mile. He went on that rap battle and was completely vulnerable.
Right. Facts.
and left his op with nothing to say.
Yeah, like you can't talk about me. I know I'm a trailer park. I know my Uncle Tom. Da, 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 da. Yeah.
Right. He exposed himself.
Yeah.
It was his most vulnerable moment is what made him win that battle.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is strength.
This is definitely going to be the topic for next. Our whole entire next show may be talking about vulnerability and strength. We may have one news beef, but we're going to talk about this vulnerability and strength for a couple shows because we need to get to a point to where we are able to be vulnerable because a lot of our tragic or a lot of our hurt or downfall becomes from not being able to be vulnerable or not being able to let things go.
Yep.
Like one of the hardest things for black men to do is just be like, okay, I forgive you.
Yeah. That's a hard one.
Because forgiveness, it seems like, oh, now you a punk.
Right.
Now you soft.
Because that's what we taught
Yeah.
growing up. But in our reality, that actually makes you a stronger individual.
Yeah. But we're going to be real strong in the next couple of shows because we may have to ride this vulnerability and strength out for a couple of shows. And I absolutely don't mind that. So get ready in the words of Bishop T.D. Jakes. But ladies and gentlemen, I am excited about today's show. Thank you guys for being a part. I am Taj. You can find me at I am Trevane on all social media platforms, whether it's me personally or my music. Once again, I have my best friend in the whole entire world. He was my husband. He's still my husband. But he's also my best friend. Y'all can catch JR. Tell them where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Instagram at LionheartJR. Make sure you check out everything we have coming from the Lionheart Collection at www.thelionheartcollection.com. Follow us on social media as well.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm glad you said it the way you said it whenever you said Lionheart JR because I've just been calling you Lionheart Jr.
Lord,
I've been calling you Lionheart Jr. forever, but
I'm gonna change this handle or something.
You have been Lionheart Jr., but I was like, no, Tez is the Junior.
Technically,
he's
JR also.
It just seems like Lionheart Jr. But that part. Let me give a shout out while we're doing this. Shout out to Miss Diane Klein. She's still sponsoring. Congratulations. Her and her husband just celebrated, I want to say 15 years of marriage. Congratulations on that. Y'all have 15 years of marriage. I can't even have 15 seconds of dating. I don't understand that.
That's because the dating pool is contaminated, but that's another topic for
a whole nother topic, a whole nother day that I don't mind talking about because, yes, I will admit, this dating pool, y'all be talking about the LGBTQ community. Let us be miserable the same way y'all miserable too. We want to be miserable too. And that dating pool is contaminated. We don't know what we're getting. I feel sorry for y'all. But shout out to all of our listeners, our viewers. We are still getting things together to shoot for our TV pilot, looking hopefully to be on Tubi real soon. I'm excited about that. Yes. Continue to listen to the podcast on whatever platform. We are going to get back to our reels very soon. Also, we just have to get a couple things together for that. But we're going to be back to our reels. Be sure to share those. Definitely catch these episodes right now on YouTube under the Intro Podcast. Again, I appreciate you for being a part of my life and being part of the show. Although we not married yet.
There you go.
We close to it. The song that I wrote said, we're more than friends, but not yet lovers. And I don't want nobody else but you. I only have one question. I was listening to that before you got here.
That's what it was.
I was listening to that song before you got here. But ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor and share this story with everyone that you know. Share this particular show, and we will be back next week with more information. JR, you have anything that you'd like to say before we shut this down? No, shout them out again. Shout out the communion juice.
Shout out to Bamboo from Wakanda. It's not from Wakanda. It's actually made in Panama. But shout out to the makers of Bamboo for this cream.
I like the way he
liquor.
said it like he really African.
Bamboo, yeah. You got to make you say the accent. It is actually pretty smooth. I like this, and it, like I said, do kind of creep up on you. But yeah, this is actually worth the bottle. We're going to try another one next week. You brought up Bombay. Maybe I'll bring Bombay next week.
I'm drinking Sprite.
Oh, okay.
I don't drink no more. This is Sprite. See, I got Sprite from Chick-fil-A.
Now we lying on camera.
Some good old Sprite.
Well, look, in the meantime, in between time, of course, you are watching or listening to.
Y'all. I love it.
Wait,
it's amazing how you don't even realize what other people have been saying. Like, we actually talk a lot now.
Yeah.
Like, we talk alike. We use each other's stuff. But yeah, go on and wrap this up.
All right, y'all. In the meantime, in between time, you are watching or listening to the Intro Podcast. Of course, I'm your boy, JR, joined with my boy,
the one and only Taz.
And we will see y'all next week. Holla.
Holla.